This is Tyler O'Neill. I'm managing editor at the Daily Signal, and I'm honored to have Rabbi Yaakov Menken, who is managing director of the Coalition for Jewish Values. Really stalwart voice for traditional Jewish values in the public square, pushing back against woke ideology and specifically some of the attacks of the ADL. But most recently, you had a great moment of impact regarding
Ilhan Omar.
Yes,
that's
exactly. Yeah, so talk a little bit about the letter that you sent to House Speaker
McCarthy. Yeah, because we had sent 3 letters. First of all, thank you so much for having me. But we had 3 letters sent to Speaker Pelosi since the day that she was nominated to be on that committee, Representative Ilhan Omar, to be on Foreign Affairs. This is tolerating anti-Semitism in Congress. And with Representative McCarthy, it obviously it hit home in a very different way. We know that the Whip's office sent it out, so every legislative director on the Republican side had a copy of, or at least knowledge of our letter. And that meant that several of the people who were saying that obviously they said, no, we're going to vote against, we're not going to remove her. It looked like Speaker McCarthy did not have the votes. And then it turned out that he did after our letter. So at least according to others, we were somehow responsible or partially responsible for that happening.
And the Coalition for Jewish Values represents over 2,000 rabbis in the United States. Can you talk about your organization's beginnings and what you're looking forward to now, how you're advocating on their behalf?
Well, the start of our organization was a group of rabbis realizing that there was nobody speaking out on behalf of Jewish tradition, that all you were hearing was partisan leftism disguised as if it were Jewish values. Tikkun olam, repairing the world. Anything I want to do is repairing the world. So my own personal ideology is therefore Judaism.
Yeah.
Which makes it means you can be on 2 sides of an issue and both claim to be representing Jewish values. It doesn't work that way, obviously. And the whole point of the Bible is there is a moral standard that everybody's supposed to follow, and you don't get to remake it on the fly. So what happened is we recognize that there's certain issues where in order to be a traditional rabbi, you have to come out a certain way. And that people don't realize that the overwhelming majority of rabbis in America are on the right wing, very conservative in their values, as compared to the average Jew. You can be a Jew and not believe in Judaism.
Right.
So the Christian who doesn't believe in Christianity, they no longer call him Christian, right? That's the atheist left. But when it comes to the Jewish community, they still are Jews. And so thus you have this image of the Jews as being all on the left, whereas the involved Jews and the rabbis, those who actually know Judaism and those who let Judaism drive their values, are on the right. And they needed to have a voice.
Well, and that's why you get these Jewish leftists arguing that abortion, for example, is a religious freedom issue.
Yeah, the Jews for feticide.
Yeah, right.
It's unbelievable. I mean, first of all, the idea that an elective abortion is a religious obligation is obviously asinine. It doesn't begin to make logical sense. But these are not people who actually care about religious liberty, because this is profoundly dangerous. If everything becomes a religious liberty issue, then nothing is a religious liberty issue. And a shout out to my friend, the lawyer Howie Slew at the Jewish Coalition for Religious Liberty, which is a legal outfit that files amici and the like on behalf of religious liberty from a Jewish perspective. They're great allies. He is the one who pointed out, he says, if your religion only has one obligation, that's when it's time to doubt the sincerity of that religion. If it just happens to be that the one thing the government doesn't want to let you do, like smoke pot, is the only religious obligation your religion has, it might be that you're making up the religion as it goes along.
But then
So this is Jews who do not believe that observing the Sabbath is a religious obligation. This is Friday, and I turned you down for a Saturday interview because
of
I'm not
course.
going to be in front of a mic and a camera tomorrow. They're not the ones who believe that keeping kosher is a Jewish obligation. They certainly don't believe that living in Israel fulfills a Jewish obligation. But, oh yeah, having access to an abortion, that's our religious obligation.
Right.
Right. There's a little problem with that.
And you've spoken out in the past against the way that the activist left pushes LGBT ideology in a way that threatens religious liberty, the religious liberty of Jews as well. Would you address
that?
that?
For Marriage Act. Actually, that's a really an interesting descriptor of our influence, besides the Ilhan Omar letter, is the fact that when ADF did a letter to the Republican side begging them to please do not allow the Respect for Marriage Act to pass, which sadly they did.
Yeah.
And there were some amazing sellouts there, and I was really surprised by that. But be that as it may, on the front page of that letter with 80 signatures, there were only 10. 9 out of 10 were multi-million-dollar household name organizations like Heritage Foundation that everybody has heard of. That 10th organization, the only one that wasn't a multi-million-dollar cause, was us.
Yeah.
And that is because these values causes need a Jewish voice. They need diversity. Actually, bang for buck, as it were, we're way in excess of anybody else because we're like a force multiplier. The left will immediately claim that only Christians believe this. Therefore, you're trying to shove Christian values down America's throat. Therefore, it's a violation of church and state to be pro-life or to be pro-family or any of these things, which, guess what? You know, the Jewish left, in one of the early hit pieces against us, said, you guys, about us, they described us as espousing positions more often associated with evangelical Christians, to which our unwritten response was, well, yeah, where do you think the evangelicals got them from?
So on that line, I want to talk briefly about the Southern Poverty Law Center. You guys were
just
leading...
our favorite people, really.
Well, I wrote a book about them called Making Hate Pay, The Corruption of the Southern Poverty Law Center. And you guys had a very important letter to Amazon telling them not to rely on this group to exclude people from
Another
Amazon
great
Smile.
Success of ours. They shut down Amazon Smile entirely. No, sadly, during the time of Amazon Smile, they were relying on the SPLC's hate map, even though that hate map has been used to commit an actual hate crime.
An act of terror.
Yeah, an act of terror against Family Research Council. By the way, somebody just called me the Jewish Tony Perkins.
Oh, no.
Well, I take that as a compliment. I mean, he's really, he's out there fearlessly espousing basic traditional values.
Yeah.
And he does it on the Christian side, and I'm doing it on the Jewish side.
And he gets smeared for it.
And he gets...
you face it too.
We are Orthodox Jews. Anything the woke left calls hateful, bigoted, and racist, we do. Now, my daughter got married last year in a hotel, ballroom,
congratulations.
Public accommodation, right, with a divider between men and women. And no, you didn't get to decide which you are when you come in. So, according to the Equality Act, that was like, if not for the religious exemption, that's a hate crime.
Oh, my. Yeah.
Like what? So I'm not actually exaggerating when I say, and the truth of the matter is that anybody that hews to traditional values, the woke left is now calling you a bigot and trying to drive you from the public sphere. And we're like, okay, but we're Jews. We have 3,000 years of experience with other governments telling us we're wrong. This is not a new experience for us, and therefore we're just, I know that when I go home, the other rabbis on my block are like, good going, that was good, you said the right things. So we don't get silenced by the left.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Rabbi Menken, and we look forward
Appreciate this opportunity. You've been a dear friend for years. I mean, really, your reporting has gone way back on our behalf, and bringing some of these stories to the public is really important. And so we appreciate you as much as you appreciate us.
And how can people follow your work?
Well, me personally, I'm at Y Menken on social media, and CJ Values is the organization, including cjvalues.org, or if you like typing, coalitionforjewishvalues.org. Yeah, if you can't find it, just Google Coalition for Jewish Values. We come right up. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Well,
thanks a bunch.
Thanks again.